What does it really take to be happy? Is it more money, more success, or simply more time? In this chapter, we dive into the timeless question: how much is enough? We'll explore the pursuit of happiness, not as a finish line to cross, but as a journey of balance, clarity, and fulfillment. Because sometimes, the real wealth isn't in what you earn, but in knowing when you already have enough. What does it really take to be happy? Is it more money, more success, or simply more time? The illusion of more. From the time we are young, we are taught, sometimes directly, often subtly, that happiness is just a little further down the road. As children, we believed joy would come when we grew up, when we had more freedom, when we could finally buy what we wanted. As adults, that belief simply shifts shape. Now it tells us, once we land that promotion, once we drive that new car, once we move into a bigger home, once we save just a bit more, then we'll be happy. But when those milestones arrive, the sense of fulfillment is rarely as permanent as we imagined. The excitement fades quickly. The raise that once felt life-changing soon blends into the routine of daily expenses. The shiny new gadget loses its glow the moment a newer model comes out, and the dream house, once a symbol of making it, suddenly feels smaller when compared with someone else's. The finish line keeps moving. This is what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill. Like running endlessly in place, we're always striving, always reaching, but never truly arriving. Each achievement or purchase only resets the baseline of what feels normal, leaving us hungry for the next upgrade. It's not that ambition is bad or that wanting more is wrong, it's that believing our happiness depends on the next more traps us in a cycle that never ends. Modern society reinforces this treadmill at every turn. Advertising doesn't just promote products, it sells the idea that your life is incomplete without them. The message is subtle but powerful. Buy this car and you'll be respected. Wear this brand and you'll be admired. Take this vacation and you'll finally relax. But these promises rarely deliver lasting joy. The thrill of a purchase may spark a moment of excitement, yet it fades, and soon we're left scanning the horizon for the next thing to acquire. Consider the story of lottery winners. Research shows that within a year or two of a windfall, most winners return to the same baseline level of happiness they had before their winnings. At first, the influx of money feels exhilarating, but as it integrates into daily life, it loses its impact. And sometimes it even brings stress, isolation, or strained relationships. The more they imagined would secure happiness often ends up complicating it instead. Or think of technology. A decade ago, owning a smartphone felt revolutionary. Today, it's almost unremarkable, even burdensome at times. The tool that once gave us freedom can now leave us feeling tethered, pressured to be always available, always responsive. The treadmill adapts to each era, promising more convenience, more power, more connection, but delivering only a fleeting sense of satisfaction. The illusion of more works because it disguises itself as progress. After all, striving and improving are natural human instincts. We set goals, we work hard, and achievement often does feel good. But there is a difference between meaningful growth and restless chasing. When more becomes the only measure, we lose sight of the present. We overlook the value of what we already have, the relationships, the security, the small joys that quietly enrich our days. Breaking free begins with awareness. When we pause long enough to notice the treadmill beneath our feet, we can choose to step off. We can ask ourselves, do I already have enough? Will the next thing truly bring me lasting happiness, or just a temporary high? These questions shift our perspective from scarcity to sufficiency, from endless pursuit to mindful presence. The truth is, happiness doesn't lie just over the next hill. It lies in recognizing what is already here. It's not about rejecting ambition or refusing growth, but about disentangling joy from the illusion that more money, more stuff, or more status will finally make us whole. If we don't confront this illusion, no amount of success will ever feel like success. No matter how much we accumulate, it will never be enough. Because enough isn't something we can buy. It's something we must define for ourselves. Redefining wealth. When most people hear the word wealth, the mind instantly jumps to money. Bank balances, investments, properties, and possessions. From childhood, we've been taught that wealth is measured in dollars and cents, in assets and earnings. But if money alone defined wealth, then every millionaire would be living in joy, and every billionaire would be at peace. Reality tells a different story. Many people with vast financial resources are restless, lonely, or unsatisfied. Meanwhile, countless others with modest means live lives filled with meaning, love, and a quiet sense of abundance. This points to a deeper truth. Wealth isn't only about money. In fact, money is just one form of wealth, and not always the most important. Real wealth can be redefined in broader terms: freedom, health, relationships, time, and peace of mind. These are the currencies that sustain happiness long after the thrill of a purchase fades. Think of freedom. Imagine waking up and having the choice of how to spend your day without being chained to a job you despise or bound by endless financial obligations. Freedom to choose your work, your pace, your priorities. That is a form of wealth far richer than any paycheck. Or consider health. Without it, even the largest fortune feels hollow. The ability to walk, to breathe deeply, to enjoy a meal with loved ones, these are treasures we often take for granted until they are threatened. In truth, good health is one of the greatest forms of wealth we will ever know. Relationships, too, belong at the center of this redefinition. Research consistently shows that strong connections with family, friends, partners, and community contribute more to lasting happiness than income beyond a certain point. A warm conversation, a shared laugh, the knowledge that someone cares for you. These are the dividends of relational wealth. They cannot be bought, only nurtured. Then there is time. Time is the one resource we can never replace. Every dollar lost can potentially be earned again, but every moment lost is gone forever. Many people spend their lives trading time for money, only to later realize that what they craved most wasn't more income, but more time for the things that truly mattered. The ability to spend time on what gives you joy, to travel, to rest, to learn, to connect, is one of the purest forms of wealth. Finally, there is peace of mind. Imagine living without constant anxiety about bills, debt, or the need to endlessly prove yourself through possessions. Peace of mind comes not from having everything, but from knowing that what you have is enough. It is the calm that arises when your values align with your choices, when you are no longer caught in the trap of endless comparison. When we broaden our definition of wealth in this way, we begin to see money differently. Instead of being the ultimate goal, money becomes a tool, a means to support freedom, health, relationships, time, and peace. It allows us to build security, reduce stress, and create opportunities. But beyond a certain point, more money doesn't necessarily translate to more happiness. Studies suggest that once our basic needs are comfortably met, food, shelter, safety, and a modest cushion, additional income has a rapidly diminishing return impact on our overall well-being. This shift in perspective is radical because it challenges the cultural script that tells us to endlessly pursue more. Instead, it invites us to ask deeper questions. What do I truly value? What kind of wealth will matter most to me at the end of my life? Few people look back wishing they had earned one more bonus or bought one more luxury item. Many, however, wish they had more time, more love, better health, or greater peace of mind. Redefining wealth doesn't mean rejecting money or ambition. It means placing them in their proper context. Money is important, yes, but it is not everything. True wealth is living a life aligned with your values, where your resources, financial and otherwise, support the things that bring meaning, joy, and fulfillment. When we make this shift, something powerful happens. Instead of constantly chasing, we begin appreciating. Instead of feeling deprived, we feel abundant. We recognize that we are already wealthy, perhaps in ways we had overlooked, and in that realization lies the beginning of enough. The science of happiness. For centuries, philosophers, poets, and spiritual teachers have debated the nature of happiness. Is it pleasure? Is it virtue? Is it the pursuit of meaning? Only in recent decades has science begun to systematically study this question, and the findings are both surprising and deeply practical. They reveal that happiness isn't as mysterious as we once believed. In fact, researchers have uncovered consistent patterns about what makes human beings flourish, and it turns out much of it has little to do with money. Studies in positive psychology show that beyond a certain threshold, more income does not significantly increase life satisfaction. Once basic needs are met, food, shelter, healthcare, safety, additional wealth contributes less and less to our well-being. This doesn't mean money is irrelevant. Financial security provides stability, reduces stress, and opens doors. But after a point, the correlation between money and happiness weakens dramatically. Instead, the research points us toward other, often overlooked ingredients of a fulfilling life. Relationships stand at the top of this list. The Harvard Study of Adult Development, one of the longest-running studies of human life, found a striking conclusion after decades of data. Good relationships keep us happier and healthier. Not fame, not fortune, but the quality of our connections. People who are socially connected experience less decline in health, live longer, and report greater joy. Loneliness, by contrast, is as damaging to health as smoking or obesity. This underscores a powerful truth. No amount of material wealth can substitute for love, friendship, and belonging. Another pillar of happiness is purpose. When we feel that our lives matter, that our efforts contribute to something larger than ourselves, we experience deeper satisfaction. Purpose can come from many sources: work, family, service, creativity, or spiritual practice. What matters is not the prestige or the income, but the sense of alignment between our actions and our values. A teacher inspiring children, a gardener nurturing the earth, a volunteer offering support, all may feel richer in purpose than a high-paid executive who feels disconnected from their work. Gratitude also plays a vital role. Research shows that people who regularly practice gratitude, by reflecting on what they appreciate or keeping a gratitude journal, experience greater happiness, stronger immune systems, and more resilience in the face of challenges. Gratitude shifts our attention from what is missing to what is present, from scarcity to abundance. It interrupts the endless cycle of more by reminding us of the enough we already possess. Then there is the science of flow, the state of being fully absorbed in an activity, losing track of time because the task is both challenging and rewarding. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi described flow as one of the keys to happiness. Whether painting, playing music, coding, or cooking, flow brings a sense of joy that is not dependent on external rewards. It reminds us that fulfillment often comes from doing, not having. Physical well-being also cannot be ignored. Exercise, sleep, and nutrition all play measurable roles in shaping mood and resilience. Movement stimulates endorphins, sleep restores emotional balance, and healthy food fuels not only the body, but the mind. The science is clear. Our biology and psychology are intertwined, and caring for one sustains the other. Importantly, happiness is not a constant state. It ebbs and flows, shaped by circumstances and choices. But what science reveals is that we have more influence over it than we might assume. By cultivating relationships, practicing gratitude, finding purpose, nurturing health, and engaging in flow, we can elevate our baseline level of well-being. What emerges from this body of research is a profound lesson. Happiness is less about what we own and more about how we live. It is found not in the accumulation of wealth, but in the richness of experience, connection, and meaning. Money can provide comfort and opportunity, but the science shows us that lasting joy is built on foundations that cannot be bought. Understanding this frees us from the illusion that enough is always more. Instead, enough becomes a question of balance. Are our relationships strong, our values honored, our bodies cared for, our gratitude alive? When the answer is yes, we discover a form of wealth that is both sustainable and deeply satisfying. Personal measures of enough. At the heart of the question, how much is enough, lies something deeply personal. No spreadsheet, financial calculator, or societal standard can define it for us. Enough is not a universal number. It is an inner measure shaped by our values, needs, and vision of a meaningful life. Yet many of us never pause to ask this question. We accept society's default answer, more. But more is not an answer. It's an endless pursuit. The challenge begins with clarity. To know what is enough, we must first ask, what do I truly need to live well? Not extravagantly, not minimally, but well. This often involves distinguishing between needs and wants. Needs are the essentials: food, shelter, safety, connection, purpose. Wants, while not inherently bad, are the extras, often fueled by comparison, advertising, or cultural pressure. When wants masquerade as needs, we lose sight of what truly sustains us. Personal measures of enough vary widely. For one person, enough may mean a modest home, steady work, and evenings free to spend with family. For another, it may mean the freedom to travel, to explore, or create. For some, it's financial independence and security. For others, it's simply knowing that their basic needs are covered and that they have time for what matters most. The key is not which version is right, but whether it aligns with your own deepest values. Consider the example of two professionals earning the same income. One spends most of it chasing a lifestyle of prestige, designer clothes, luxury cars, the latest technology. The other chooses to live simply, saving more and working fewer hours to spend time with loved ones. On paper, they earn the same. In practice, their experience of enough is vastly different. The second person may feel far richer, not because of the number in their bank account, but because of how they chose to define wealth for themselves. Determining enough also involves asking what truly brings joy and meaning. If you look back at your happiest moments, were they tied to consumption or to experiences, relationships, and growth? Often, it's the shared meal, the spontaneous adventure, the creative project, or the sense of contributing that lingers in memory, not the fleeting thrill of a purchase. Reflecting on these moments helps us identify our personal compass of sufficiency. Another powerful practice is to visualize your life at its most content. Imagine waking up in the morning with a sense of peace. What does your day look like? Who are you with? What are you doing? This vision often reveals what enough really means to you. It may highlight the importance of freedom, health, or community more than the accumulation of material goods. Of course, enough is not static. It shifts as life changes. A young person may define enough as adventure and opportunity. A new parent may see enough as security and stability. Someone later in life may define enough as health and meaningful time with loved ones. The measure evolves, but the principle remains. Enough is a conscious choice, not a default chase. What makes this process challenging is that the world constantly whispers or shouts that we don't yet have enough. Advertisements, social media, and even casual conversations with peers can spark feelings of inadequacy. Escaping this comparison trap requires courage. It requires saying, "My enough does not need to look like anyone else's." When we accept this, we step into authenticity. Ultimately, personal measures of enough act as a boundary. They free us from the illusion that we must constantly chase more. They allow us to say no to opportunities or purchases that don't align with our values. And they give us permission to say yes to the things that truly matter, even if they don't impress anyone else. Defining enough doesn't limit us, it liberates us. It allows us to step off the treadmill of endless striving and into a life where happiness is not deferred to the future, but lived in the present. It is a declaration that says, "This is what I need to thrive." Beyond this, anything extra is a gift, not a requirement. When we know our personal measure of enough, We no longer live by default, we live by design. And in that choice, we discover a quiet but profound form of freedom. Escaping the comparison trap, one of the greatest obstacles to knowing how much is enough is the constant temptation to measure our lives against others. From childhood, we are taught to compare grades in school, athletic performance, social popularity. As adults, the comparisons simply shift into new forms. Salaries, homes, cars, careers, vacations, even the curated highlights of social media. Without realizing it, we begin to measure our worth not by our own values, but by the shifting standards of those around us. This is the comparison trap. It convinces us that happiness is relative, that our satisfaction depends on being just a little ahead of the people we see. If a neighbor buys a new car, suddenly our perfectly good vehicle feels inadequate. If a coworker earns a promotion, our achievements seem smaller. If friends post pictures of exotic vacations, our quiet weekends feel unworthy. Instead of celebrating what we have, we become restless, always looking sideways. Psychologists call this phenomenon relative deprivation. It means that even when our needs are fully met, even when we have security, comfort, and abundance, we can feel poor or unsuccessful if others appear to have more. Ironically, studies show that people would often prefer to earn less money in absolute terms if it meant earning more than their peers. For example, given a choice between making $100,000 while others make $80,000, or making $120,000 while others make $150,000, many choose the first option, even though it leaves them with less money overall. That is the power of comparison. It distorts logic, reshaping satisfaction into a race we can never win. Social media has amplified this trap. Platforms that promise connection often deliver curated windows into other people's best moments, vacations, celebrations, achievements, rarely the struggles, conflicts, or ordinary days in between. We scroll through highlight reels and unconsciously measure them against our behind-the-scenes reality. The result is predictable: feelings of inadequacy, envy, and a sense that everyone else is living better, fuller, happier lives. Escaping this trap begins with awareness. The truth is, comparison is inevitable. We are social creatures wired to notice and evaluate. The challenge is not to eliminate comparison, but to redirect it. Instead of measuring ourselves against others, we can measure ourselves against our own values and growth. Are we living more authentically today than we did yesterday? Are we aligning our time and money with what matters most to us? These are comparisons that liberate rather than imprison. Gratitude is a powerful antidote. When we intentionally pause to acknowledge what we already have, health, safety, love, friendship, opportunity, the grip of comparison loosens. Gratitude reminds us that our worth is not diminished by someone else's success. Their joy does not subtract from ours. Another practice is to consciously curate our environment. If certain media, conversations, or social spaces consistently spark feelings of inadequacy, we can choose to limit them. Stepping back from the endless scroll of comparison culture creates space to reconnect with what genuinely fulfills us. In its place, we can cultivate environments that inspire rather than diminish, communities where success is measured by kindness, growth, creativity, or contribution, not just material markers. Most importantly, escaping the comparison trap requires redefining success on our own terms. When we decide what enough means personally, we no longer need to chase someone else's version of it. Their house, their salary, their lifestyle may be right for them, but it does not define us. By honoring our own values, we free ourselves from the exhausting race of keeping up. In the end, comparison will always whisper, "Look at them. Look at what they have." But we can learn to answer back, "That's theirs. This is mine. And what I have is enough." When we do, the restless search for validation fades, replaced by the quiet confidence of a life measured not by others' standards, but by our own. The balance point. If the illusion of more keeps us endlessly chasing, and comparison distracts us from our own path, then the question remains, where do we stop? How do we know when we have enough? The answer lies in what can be called the balance point, the place where financial security, personal values, and genuine happiness intersect. The balance point is not about abandoning ambition or rejecting comfort. It is about harmony. It is the recognition that while money matters, it is only one piece of a much larger puzzle. Too little financial security can cause stress and instability, yet too much focus on accumulation can cost us our time, our health, and our peace of mind. The balance point is the middle ground, where money supports life without consuming it. Finding this point requires honesty. We must ask ourselves, what level of income, savings, or possessions truly supports my well-being? What amount allows me to feel safe, to meet my needs, to enjoy my days, without pushing me into endless striving? For some, this may mean simplifying expenses so they can work less and live more. For others, it may mean building financial cushions to reduce anxiety. In every case, the answer is personal, not universal. The balance point also invites us to evaluate trade-offs. Every choice carries a cost. More hours at work may bring more income, but fewer evenings at home. A bigger mortgage may buy a larger house, but increase financial pressure. When we see life as a series of trade-offs rather than absolutes, we can make more conscious decisions. Instead of asking, "How much can I earn?" we ask, "How much do I need and what am I willing to trade to get it?" This shift transforms the pursuit of money into the pursuit of balance. Another element of the balance point is time. Imagine wealth as a scale. On one side is money, on the other is time. Tip too far toward money, and time slips away. Tip too far toward time, and money pressures mount. True balance is achieved when the two support each other, when our financial life gives us enough freedom to spend time meaningfully, and when our use of time prevents money from becoming our sole focus. Health is another pillar of this equilibrium. If we sacrifice sleep, exercise, or peace of mind in pursuit of more wealth, we undermine the very happiness we seek. No paycheck can restore the years lost to stress or burnout. The balance point requires that we honor the body as much as the bank account. Importantly, balance does not mean perfection. Life shifts, needs change. Some seasons demand greater focus on work or income, while others call for slowing down to nurture relationships or health. The balance point is less a fixed destination and more a compass. It guides us back when we stray too far toward excess or deprivation. Practical steps can help us find it. Creating a spending plan aligned with values reveals whether money is flowing toward what truly matters. Setting boundaries around work ensures time for rest and connection. Regularly reflecting on gratitude grounds us in the awareness that enough often already exists. And reminding ourselves of trade-offs keeps us honest about what we are gaining and losing in pursuit of more. When we live at the balance point, money becomes a servant, not a master. It provides security without dictating our choices, comfort without fueling endless desire. Happiness ceases to be postponed until the next raise, the next purchase, the next achievement. Instead, it arises here and now, in the space where our resources, our values, and our well-being meet. Ultimately, the balance point is the practical expression of the question at the heart of this chapter. How much is enough? It is not a number, but a state of alignment. Enough is the place where we stop chasing and start living. Enough is the recognition that our lives are already rich when measured by freedom, love, health, and meaning. Enough is balance. And in that balance, we discover a happiness that no amount of more could ever buy. That wraps up How Much is Enough? The Quest for Happiness. We've explored how chasing more can trap us, how real wealth goes beyond money, and how defining our own measure of enough brings clarity and balance. Next, in Getting It Out in the Open, we'll uncover how honesty, transparency, and confronting the truths about our money and choices can free us to live fully and intentionally.